Welcome to the September 10th, 2024 Millbrae City Council meeting. Sorry for a little late. We were just coming out of a closed session on a very important discussion for the city of Millbrae. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:15 p.m. City Clerk, would you please do a roll call?
Councilmember Snyder.
Present.
Vice Mayor Pappen. Mayor Fung.
Right here.
All members of City Council are present.
We already did the Pledge of Allegiance earlier today, so I'm going to go right into our first agenda item tonight, which is a ceremonial presentation for one of my favorite, recognition of Hanson Bridgett, LLP, with Joan Cassman, as well as our beloved Michael Conneran as well, for 36, is that 36 years? I believe it's 30, okay, I'm going to call that 36 years of service. I'm pretty sure you prepare before you starting to join. So 36 years of service to the great city Millbrae and everyone in our city. I am just extremely thankful for all the work you've done and all the representation you provided to our city. And I just cannot be more proud to have you as our city attorney, and just look forward to continue working with you on TA and many other regional agencies. With that, we can benefit from your representation. I just wanted to thank you very much for that. I usually don't read commendations, but for 36 years of service, I thought I would make it a small exception. Whereas Hanson Bridgett LLP had provided outstanding legal service to the city of Millbrae for past 36 years, demonstrating unwavering dedication and a deep commitment to the well-being of our community. And whereas City Attorney Joan Cassman has exemplified exceptional leadership and legal expertise, guiding the city of Millbrae through numerous achievements with her wise counsel and steadfast dedication. And whereas Assistant City Attorney Michael Conneran has consistently contributed his vast legal knowledge and skill, playing a critical and crucial role in addressing land use and other legal challenges facing by our city. And whereas the entire team of talented attorney at Hanson Bridgett had worked collaboratively and tirelessly to support the city of Millbrae and our people, ensuring that our legal affairs are handled with the highest level of professionalism and integrity. Whereas the collective effort of Hanson Bridgett, led by Joan Cassman and Michael Conneran and their team, have been instrumental in shaping the legal framework of our city, contributing to its growth, stability, and success. Whereas the city expressed its deepest gratitude and appreciation to Hanson Bridgett, City Attorney Joan Cassman, Assistant City Attorney Michael Conneran, and their entire team of attorneys for their exceptional service and enduring contribution over the past 36 years. Now, therefore, we, the members of the Millbrae City Council, do hereby express our gratitude and commend Hanson Bridgett and Joan Cassman. Joan, would you like to come up? Would you like to give us a few words?
If I may, thank
Please.
you very much. Put my glasses on.
I'd like to see you at the podium that way.
This is one of the few times in 35 and a half years that I have addressed Millbrae from this seat rather than that one. So, Honorable Mayor, council members, city staff, and Millbrae residents. For Michael Conneran, the entire Hanson Bridgett team, and I, it has been a great honor to serve the city of Millbrae as city attorney these past 35 years. We have thoroughly enjoyed working with a number of council members and professional staff people over these many years. Indeed, my tenure as city attorney has spanned 4 city managers: Jim Erickson, Ralph Jack, Marsha Raines, and Tom Williams. I arrived on the scene in 1989. Millbrae had just established its redevelopment agency the prior year. Change was in the wind, and it was exciting to be part of the adventures to come. And allow me a few minutes to reminisce. First, in the 1990s, Millbrae acquired the grant funding and then oversaw the design and construction of the Millbrae Avenue Overpass project, a beautiful bridge over the Caltrain right-of-way tracks that now serves as the gateway to the city. This public works project was delivered on time and under budget. An extraordinary achievement, one that I have rarely seen in my 47 years of practice. And I do think it pays tribute to the Public Works Director, then Lou Sandrini, and his team. In the year 2000, Millbrae experienced the terrible Crestview landslide, which damaged private property on the hill between Crestview and Pinehurst. Because the city had a public sewer line running through the hill, we were able to obtain from the State Office of Emergency Services an unprecedented $8.5 million grant to repair the hillside. And mind you, it was all private property. Over time, we were able to convince the state to minimize the city's responsibility to pay the local share, which was 25% of that $8.75 million grant. And it was gaining interest over time. So we worked with the state through loans, deferment, interest reductions, and other accommodations to minimize that particular grant obligation, which really was a significant one for the city of Millbrae. In 2004, Amoroso, the contractor constructing the Millbrae's beautiful new library, ran into financial problems. We were able to assist the city in getting the surety on the performance bond to bring in a new contractor and to finish the project without requiring any increase in the project cost. And the library opened on schedule. And with the use of design, build, project system delivery for the first time, the city successfully completed in 2022 the city's magnificent new community center to replace the facility that had tragically burned to the ground in 2016. And finally, we worked closely with the city's planning department over the years to deliver the Millbrae Station area specific plan, the new general plan, the downtown specific plan, and the now state-approved housing element. We are proud of our role facilitating these and other major milestones for the city of Millbrae, and we were thrilled over the span of our tenure to celebrate with Millbrae both its 50th and its 75th anniversaries. Although I live in the city of San Mateo, for the past several decades, I have felt as if Millbrae is my second home on the peninsula. So thank you, Millbrae, for entrusting Hanson Bridgett to serve as your city attorney for these 3.5 decades. It is with fondness and gratitude that I and the Hanson Bridgett team wish Millbrae success as you continue on your journey of development and the inevitable changes that you will always confront. And of course, I wish my successor, David Lim, the best of luck. Thank you,
Joan. Thank you so very much. Any of my colleagues?
Joan, I've known you now for 9 years. What the public probably doesn't know is you come up, you're working on something, and I tend to work late. I'm often up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'll send a note off from Joan, and within hours I get a response back. And you have always been very lovely at helping me understand how to do this or that or the other thing. Very grateful for that, for our conversations, and wish you absolutely the best to you and your family. We will miss you.
Thank you.
Joan, thank you for all your hard work and effort, and it's really been great to get to know you, and believe me, people, she's had to put up with a lot in balancing all the personalities and everything. It takes a delicate hand, which you have, and you've done a wonderful job. I really thank you and do wish you all the very, very best, and we have some goodies.
Yeah,
right?
we have a few plaques, and we'd love to have you join us for a photo.
You gonna bring it on?
Anyway, bring it on.
We have good tasting goodies, Joan.
Are you gonna bring some hands so that we can carry all this? There's no land destination, but actually.
Yes, I hear she is.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, please.
Okay, what's next?
These two.
Is that next? What's next?
September 11th is Patriot Day.
Yes, right now. Okay, the mayor has given me permission to proceed. Our next proclamation is in recognition of September 11th. Whereas on September 11th, 2001, nearly 3,000 innocent men, women, and children, first responders, heroes, and patriots lost their lives in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Shanksville, Pennsylvania, leaving their families and our nation with a void that can never be filled. And each year on this date, we remember the horror and bravery shown that day, just as we remember how we came together, unified in grief and with purpose. And the terror and loss inflicted on our nation showed we as people, as Americans, are truly made of, demonstrated by the people who came to and aided all those in need. And the sacrifices made by heroic passengers, firefighters, law enforcement, EMT, construction workers, colleagues, and strangers remind us of the courage and tenuous character of our citizens and our nation. And whereas we must stand by one another and carry forward the legacy of strength and sacrifice by uniting and uplifting one another, we can build a stronger, more resilient community. And whereas we never forget the tragedy and sacrifices of this day, and will always pay tribute to our first responders and civilians for their heroic actions. Now, therefore, we, the members of the Millbrae City Council, do hereby proclaim September 11th, 2024 as Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance. We invite the community to join us for a flag retreat ceremony Monday, September 11th? Wrong, typo, people. It's Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow
Yes.
would be September 11th, starting at 6:59 a.m., which is the time, I believe, the first plane hit. So,
And we have the Central County Fire Department Chief, Dave Pucci, accepting this proclamation.
Chief Bucci, thank you.
Please.
Go right ahead.
Great. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Dave Pucci, the Fire Chief for Central County Fire. On that day, I remember I was at shift change and working at Redwood City Station 10 and the impact of seeing those buildings collapse. And we sent members from throughout this county to go assist in New York. And it really hit me this weekend how much of an impact this still has on us today. We did a memorial ceremony on Sunday, and we have had members who have passed from work-related cancers at a very young age because of what they were exposed to. And it is still impacting us today. There's 10,000 first responders out there that are diagnosed with work-related exposure illness, and 2,000 have died as a result of those. So it is still very much something that is present at the forefront of our mind. So I look forward to the Remembrance ceremony tomorrow morning. So thank you very much. I do have one other announcement that I want to take advantage of the brief moment I have here. Is on Friday, we were awarded federal grants for $8.1 million. And we are going to be able to open up Station 36 on Rollins Road. So this will have a tremendous increase in service for the city of Millbrae. So I look forward to reporting to you closer as we get closer to that date and filling you in on that. So thank you very much.
That's
Appreciate the good
amazing.
news.
Thank
Yes.
you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. And then would like to join us for,
And I would add,
Go ahead.
one more thing. That time, you can come join us here, but I think we all remember that was probably the greatest time in our lifetime that everyone came together and what we can achieve when people do come together. So hopefully we can remember that moving forward to a bright future, but always in remembrance, as you said, because people are still dying from the effects. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
okay, Councilmember Schneider.
I'm going to use this little PSA. Again, thank you. Thank you for all of our first responders and everyone who stood up. 60 Minutes had a special on Sunday on that, and It doesn't seem that long ago. I would say that that day we'd just gotten home from vacation, 5 weeks in Alaska, I went and spent hours trying to give blood, and I've been a bone marrow donor ever since. And I bring that up now because the American Red Cross and the local blood banks are short on blood. So this is always a good day to remember that if you have the time to go and give blood, give platelets, anything like that, and to help everyone with that way. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. Still bright?
Still bright and early.
Yes.
Running right along, we have another proclamation. Proclamation National Hispanic Heritage Month is a time to appreciate and celebrate the colorful cultures, rich histories, and diversity of Latinx and Hispanic Americans. And whereas this month-long celebration recognizes the valuable contributions made by residents of Hispanic descent to all aspects of American life, including leadership in public service, business, the arts, education, and civil rights. And whereas the contributions of the Hispanic Americans have strengthened the freedom, prosperity, and greatness of our country, as well as enhanced our bond with neighboring countries, and Hispanic Heritage Month provides a unique opportunity for schools as well as public and private organizations to focus on the many Hispanic Americans whose lives have shaped our history and heritage. And whereas it is the imperative to embrace all diverse history so that all children can see themselves in our nation's past and know that they have a critical role in its future. And whereas the call for recognition this year is to ensure that diversified communities stand in solidarity to create inclusive spaces with open dialogue for a more just and equitable future. Now, therefore, we, the members of the Millbrae City Council, do hereby proclaim September 15th, 2024 through October 15th, 2024 as National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Thank you.
Who is here to receive?
And we have our Assistant City Manager, Isabel Carlos, and also our Project Manager, Eduardo Gonzalez, joining us to accept this important proclamation on behalf of our shared community.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, and Councilwoman Snyder. So on behalf of, Isabel Carlos, Assistant City Manager, Human Resources Director, and here with my colleague, Eduardo Gonzalez, Project Manager for the city, and we are honored to accept this proclamation on behalf of the Latinx and the Hispanic American community, and also on behalf of the city employees in the organization. We join in the celebration, honoring those from our past, present, and our future generations for their invaluable contributions to the great American life, culture, and economy. Thank you for this proclamation, and we're happy to receive it.
Thank you so very much. Would you please join us at the podium?
I have my favorite subject, pollution. Whereas the city of Millbrae takes great pride in protecting and maintaining its exceptional landscapes, environment, and natural resources. And whereas the City of Millbrae supports clean and safe water, land, and air for our community, and whereas proper management of waste is key to preserving our environment and strengthening our economy, and whereas pollution prevention, otherwise known as P2, technical jargon, is a cost-effective management tool that can substantially reduce the generation and impact of waste, conserve resources, and protect the environment. And whereas recognizing Pollution Prevention Week and celebrating 34 years of Pollution Prevention Act of 1990, where Congress declared it to be a national policy of the United States that pollution should be prevented or reduced at the source whenever feasible, whereas environmental sustainability provides an opportunity for our schools, businesses, citizens, and government to partner to work proactively together towards a prosperous and sustainable future, whereas increasing awareness and attention to pollution prevention is in the best interest of Millbrae's environment and economy. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the Millbrae City Council, do hereby proclaim September 16th to the 22nd, 2024 as National Pollution Prevention Week. And I believe we have Ms. Andrea Papajohn to tell us about some of our fun events coming up.
Yes, and we also have our director from Public Works, San Batista, joining us both with Ms. Andrea Papajohn as well.
Thank you so much, Mayor Fung and council members. Really appreciate the proclamation. It is amazing that it's the 40th anniversary of this event, and we're really excited to celebrate it on Saturday, September 21st. We'll have a cleanup at Central Park, and we meet there, and then groups can disperse to clean up throughout the city. So we hope you'll join us. It starts at 9 o'clock, and then we'll have lunch provided for all volunteers. And now I'll hand it over to Mr. Batista. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, Sam Bautista, your Public Works Director. I just wanted to say thank you very much for this proclamation, and we thank you for supporting our environmental programs here at the city. We provide many programs for our residents, and we promote a healthy environment. So thank you very much, and thank you for this proclamation.
All right, thank you. You want to say something?
Just if I could add a couple of dates. City Manager, I believe we're celebrating the return of the plastic bag program, and we have a date for ribbon cutting. It's Thursday, September, sorry, caught you there.
Thursday, September 26th is what's being planned currently.
On that one, and that, because people keep asking, what can they do with their plastic bags? So with the great help of Public Works and the City Manager, we're continuing, more information will be about that. That's a big one for pollution prevention and microplastics. We're still getting credit around the country and the world for our banning of artificial turf, which is an incredible source of microplastics into the aquatic environment and into the air. And City Manager, I haven't had a chance to brief you, but I believe we're celebrating the Adopt a Spot program with the green bioswales, which are another pollution prevention technique, on Saturday, October 5th, tentative date on that. So Millbrae Leos and people who live near that bioswale, just many things to celebrate pollution prevention and to take an active participation in that. But thank you, staff.
All right, excellent. And next up is proclaiming September 21st to September 27th as United Against Hate Week. And we're thankful to have Joy Pasamante Henry joining us this evening. I just wanted to bring about the importance of the opportunity. to dedicate and to foster an inclusive and safe and fair community where all people, regardless of their race, gender, ethnicity, and sexual orientations and religions and nationality or identity are being treated fairly, respectfully, and with compassion. And also at the same time, as we not only talk about being inclusive, we actually take action. As we translated all of these posters into multiple different languages, just to make sure everybody is included in these conversations, and as a way to also tell everyone, your voice matters, and we will always respect people from all backgrounds, and no matter what language you speak at home or what religion you practice at home. So with that, I'd like to invite Joan, join us at the podium to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Mayor Fung, Vice Mayor Pappen, Councilmember Schneider, City Manager Tom Williams, and the entire city. As the Mills PTO president, I am honored to accept this proclamation. A few years ago, Mills High School students, staff, and our city were pivotal in making United Against Hate Week a reality in our city. We have become a society so quick to hate, so quick to put people in boxes. Yes, we are a city united against hate, but hopefully we can be a city united in kindness. As we reflect on the week and think about what we do as a city and as individuals, I challenge everyone to do something simple, to remember that words are powerful. Words hold importance and meaning. Instead of focusing on being united against hate, perhaps we can focus on loving kindness, on being good to one another. Thank you again for this recognition and the honor.
Thank you.
Getting my hand back. It's still fiddling.
And then next up, we have proclamation proclaiming September 21st, 2024 as Malta Independence Day. And as we commemorate the 60th Independence Day of Malta, we continue to reaffirm the strong friendship ties that connect our city and with the great people of Malta. And we salute the rich heritage of the Maltese American. And I just wanted to, be thankful and invite our representative, Tony Spiteri, on behalf of the Honorable General Counsel of Malta, Louis Vella, to join us at the podium to accept this proclamation and also say a few words. Thank you, Tony. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Mayor Fung and council members Pappen and Ms. Schneider. My name is Tony Spiteri. It is an extreme honor for me to be here with you tonight, accepting this wonderful and official proclamation from the city of Millbrae, commemorating and celebrating Malta's 60th anniversary of its independence. I am here representing not only our Honorable Consul General of Malta, which I know you know very well, Mr. Louis Vella, who couldn't be here tonight, but also our entire Maltese community of the Bay Area. We can't thank you and the city of Millbrae enough or find the proper words of gratitude for officially recognizing our island nation's struggles over so many years and under so many rulers to finally gain its independence in 1964. Personally, when my family arrived here in San Francisco in 1960 as a 10-year-old, traveling on a British passport, little did I know that 4 years later that would not be the case anymore. Again, please accept our collective, sincere, and heartfelt gratitude for the recognition the City of Millbrae has bestowed on our beloved island of Malta and its people in celebrating with us our 60th anniversary of our independence. Thank you for having me here tonight, and most important, I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spiteri. Does any of my colleagues want to say anything? Or join us at the podium and for a photo. Thank you.
The City of Millbrae will join the county, the state, the country in raising awareness of suicide prevention, treatment, and recovery. And whereas suicide is a leading cause of death in the United States, claiming the lives of thousands of individuals each year, and has a profound impact on families, friends, and communities. And whereas September is recognized as Suicide Prevention Month, a time to raise awareness about the importance of mental health, the warning signs of suicide, and the resources available to prevent this tragic loss of life. And whereas many who experience suicidal thoughts or mental health crisis feel isolated and alone, yet their pain is shared by those who love them and those in their communities who are ready to support them. And whereas there is a critical need for accessible mental health services, community support, and compassionate outreach to individuals of all ages who may be at risk of suicide, and whereas for those who are currently facing mental health issues and suicidal ideation, the City of Millbrae reminds residents and people to know that they are not alone and that resources for specific needs are widely available to everyone 24/7. The City of Millbrae residents are urged to play a role in supporting each other and preventing suicide by knowing the signs of suicide, finding the words to communicate, and reaching out to local resources that are available 24 hours, 7 days a week, including our local San Mateo County Star Vista Crisis Hotline, which is 650-579-0350, or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the new, or now not so new, 988, but an important number, 988-1-800-273-TALK. And now, therefore, we, the members of the Millbrae City Council, do hereby proclaim September 2024 as Suicide Prevention Month, and we call upon everyone in our community to find their role in suicide prevention.
And we have tonight, in person, San Mateo County Health, Behavioral Health Commissioner Victoria Yu and Jean Perry Valley joining us.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members, City Manager, staff, and residents of Millbrae. I'm Jean Perry, and my pronouns that I use are she, her, and I'm serving on the Behavioral Health Commission of San Mateo County, and I am here in behalf of the Suicide Prevention Committee. Like too many of you, I and my family have been touched by losing a family member who died by suicide. Thank you to the City of Millbrae for joining other cities and the county in proclaiming 2024 September Suicide Prevention Month. This is a good time of the year to honor those affected by suicide and inspire action to prevent suicide. The statewide theme for Suicide Prevention Month is Love Over Loneliness. And our San Mateo County Board of Supervisors passed a resolution in January pledging to promote social connection in our communities. And I think I left out, the resolution declared that loneliness a public health crisis. According to the 2023 San Mateo County Health and Quality of Life Survey, 45% of respondents in San Mateo County were experiencing difficulty with loneliness and isolation. So September Suicide Prevention Month is important to me because even one more suicide is too many. Our county has a suicide rate well below the other counties in California. And yet, in our county, our older adults, especially our male older adults, continue to die by suicide at a rate far above the other counties. Nationwide, our men and women who have served in the armed forces are dying every day by suicide. Too many each day. Even one more is too many. So Suicide Prevention Month is an opportunity for all of us to become educated about suicide prevention, to find our own unique way to make a difference. Now more than ever, it's important that we find ways to connect with one another and know the signs, find the words, and reach out. I'd like to invite you to take action on one or more options. Number one, learn the signs of suicide. Number two, save those phone numbers that Ann mentioned, the 988, the National Crisis Line, and the Star Vista Hotline. Save them in your phone, 650-579-0350. And consider attending one of the Suicide Month events. So we have a dandy website that is easy to remember. It's smcsuicideprevention.com, and you will find events for the month. You will find information, and I hope you will visit that place and find the words, know the signs, and reach out. Thank you so much to the Millbrae community for recognizing September as Suicide Prevention Month.
Thank you, Jean. Does Victoria want to say
I'd like to
anything?
introduce my colleague, Victoria.
Victoria,
who's
you?
also serving on the commission.
Sorry.
Just get closer to the mic. Thank you.
Just want to say thank you to the City Council and for the proclamation and for your commitment to raise awareness to this about such a very important issue. Together we can make a difference. We can save lives.
Okay, thank you so much. Go ahead, Councilmember. Councilmember Schneider.
I want to give a shout out to Jean Perry, who helped organize a few years ago suicide awareness training for young people. We now have over 180 brand new LEOs since that time. Are they still doing those training classes for young people? And who do we call?
Could you get close to the mic, please?
Those trainings, Be Sensitive, Be Brave, and there's another one too, Mental Health First Aid, have been contracted to an entity, and I'd be happy to provide you with the email to contact them.
Excellent, thank you.
And we just did another training in May, and one room was Spanish, the other room was English, and so, yeah.
Well, thank you, and thank you for all the time you dedicate for this.
You're welcome.
Yes, go ahead. Vice Mayor?
Before we get to the proclamation there, yes, Supervisor Canepa had a wonderful event at the SPCA because of the benefit of pets or animals. And even if you can't take one home with you, you can go and visit and actually foster or just walk a dog. So we want to prevent loneliness in any way, shape, or form. And sometimes the animals are very, very helpful. So that was one aspect of one program that was really very, very nice.
Thank you. All right, would you please join us at the podium? Thank you all. And then we're now getting into the agenda overview and staff briefing. City Manager Tom Williams, would you please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to you, members of the City Council. Tom Williams, City Manager. So we continue to have a lot going on here in the city of Millbrae, and I'll start off with some events over the next week. Starting tomorrow morning, as we heard from Chief Pucci, we're going to commemorate the September 11th service. Again, that is tomorrow morning at 6:59 a.m. 6:59 is when the second World Trade Center tower was hit. So we're going to recognize that event with a flag ceremony in conjunction with Central County Fire Department, the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office, and of course the City of Millbrae. We'll have light refreshments and coffee there for everyone. So we hope to see and remember the slogan, "We will never forget," in Millbrae, and our first responders will never forget. So 6:59 a.m. tomorrow, right here at our main fire station next door to City Hall. Also this Friday, September 13th, Millbrae Goes to the Movies. We're featuring a great movie, and I've actually seen it. It's Wonka, and it's at Central Park. So the movie will start at sundown right around 8:15. September and October, we always have the best weather here in Millbrae, but we still encourage families to bring blankets and lawn chairs and picnic baskets to enjoy a wonderful night and a great outdoor movie. Also, Saturday and Sunday, September 14th and 15th, in conjunction with the Millbrae Cultural Committee, is the Millbrae Mid-Autumn Festival. And this will be downtown Millbrae on the 300 and 400 blocks. We'll have more than 150 food vendors, arts and crafts vendors, entertainment, a large kids zone. So this is a wonderful event, cultural event with Millbrae Cultural Committee. It's Mid-Autumn Festival this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, starting at 10 a.m. And I think it goes to 7 p.m. So it's just a wonderful event. Also, this Sunday, September 15th, is our compost workshop. So people can learn to compost with the UC Master Gardener, Leslie Miniman, and the Millbrae Cultural Enhancement Advisory Committee. Again, Sunday, that's this Sunday, September 15th from 1 to 2 p.m. This will be up at the community garden in Central Park. So it'll be a really nice learning event with a master gardener. We do recommend, not required, but we recommend pre-registration. Pre-registration can be found on our website. Just type in Millbrae Compost and it'll take you to the sign up. Also, a week from this Thursday, September 19th, is the State of the City. So we're pleased to invite everyone in the city to hear the mayor's State of the City. It will start at 5 p.m. We will do this on the city stage before our Beats and Brews concert. This is another great event that will feature downtown businesses and restaurants. So we're expecting right around 200 people in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce and also Millbrae Cultural Committee. So again, State of the City, this, or a week from Thursday, September 19th at 5 p.m. On Broadway. And then lastly, following that at 6 p.m. is our Beats, Brews, and Vines concert series. So it should be a really nice Thursday afternoon. Also, wanted to make a note that the City Council approved opening the application for potential selectees to fill the vacant council seats in District 2 and District 4. Information is available on our website. That's an ongoing application process. You can reach out to the city clerk. And again, multiple places on our website, there's information there. So council is seeking applicants to potentially fill the role of the 2 vacant positions. Those applications are due on October 1st. Then the City Council will review those, have open interviews, open to the public, and then make a decision accordingly. And then lastly, starting this evening, we have a significant paving on Rollins Road. The contractor for Alexandria Life Science will be performing concrete sidewalk work and street surface restoration and repaving on the east side of Rollins Road from Millbrae Avenue to Adrian Road. So to minimize the impacts to our residents, the work will begin and actually start about 8 o'clock this evening, and we'll go to 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. And we'll be monitoring the construction site to make sure that all goes smoothly and that we'll avoid any significant traffic jams. So hopefully they stay on schedule by 4 a.m. and avoid the congestion. But necessary work, I mean, this is part of construction and major improvements. So again, a nice improvement for the city of Millbrae. So Mayor, that concludes a very brief update of what's happening around town.
Okay, thank you so very much. You have a brief comment?
City Manager, did you get an update for the potential event on Sunday, September 22, celebrating electrification of Caltrain with the Historical Society?
We do have that, and we'll get that information out to the city council. I think it's being formalized with Caltrain staff. So we will get that out to the public and of the city council. But yeah,
Excellent.
that's a good point to mark that on your calendar. We are participating.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you so much for the city update, City Manager. And to that, we are moving on to the approval of minutes. We have a special meeting minute of July 9th, 2024. Any council comments or discussions?
No, Pappen, move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and also a second. City Clerk, would you please?
Do we have to go through a roll call? I mean, we're all here. Can't we just say all in favor?
If that,
We'll just keep going.
roll call?
Yes. go
Okay.
ahead.
Councilmember Snyder.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen.
Yes.
Mayor Fung.
Aye.
The members of the council approve the meeting minutes, the special meeting minutes of July 9th, 2024 by the vote of 3-0.
Okay, thank you so much. We don't have any oral report from City Committee and Commission Chair today. And moving on to public communication, where this portion of this agenda is reserved for those who wish to comment on any item not appearing on tonight's agenda. However, a speaker must address subject matter within the jurisdictions of City Council. Every speaker will have up to 3 minutes, and the speaker is to address directly to the entire council and not individual council member nor the public. I don't have any speaker slip on public communication. City Clerk, do you have anybody online?
There are no hands raised online, Mayor.
Thank you so much, and that concludes public communication for this evening. Moving on to consent calendar. It's a little long, but I believe we have a request to pull item number 12.
Yes.
And also, Ms. Schneider, which item?
Number 7, sidewalks.
Number 7 and item number 12. City Clerk, would you mind reading 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 11?
Consent calendar, item number 5, adoption of a resolution awarding a construction contract to B Daily Electric in amount of $62,191 for the installation of electric vehicle charging station at the Millbrae City Hall parking lot and establish a 15% project contingency action item. Item number 6, adoption of a resolution authorizing the city manager or designee to execute a professional service agreement with Wessie Ham for the engineering service for the La Prenda water tank replacement project in the amount of $508,160 and authorizing city manager or designee to execute all change order up to design project contingency of $76,244 for a total design project amount not to exceed $584,384. Action item. Item number 8, adoption of a resolution accepting the Tyler Middle School basketball court project as complete and authorizing the filing of a notice of completion with the San Mateo County Recorder's Office. Action. Item number 9, adoption of a resolution accepting the 2023 traffic calming improvement project and authorizing the filing of a notice of completion with the San Mateo County Recorder's Office. Action. Item number 10, adoption of a resolution accepting the nearshore outfall restoration project as complete and authorizing the filing of a notice of completion with the San Mateo County Recorder's Office. Action. Item number 11, approve by motion to authorize the Recreation Director to attend the National Recreation and Parks Association Annual Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. Action.
Okay, so,
Move approval.
Second.
okay, can we have a roll call, please? On 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Councilmember Snyder.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen.
Yes.
Mayor Fung.
Aye.
Consent item number 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are passed by a vote of 3-0.
Okay, now on to item 7, adoption of a resolution authorizing the city manager or designee to execute a construction contract with Precision Empire LLC, DBA Precision Concrete Cutting for the sidewalk area maintenance program. Action. I believe Mr. San Batista, you have a short presentation or something that we could start the discussion with?
Mayor. No, I don't have a presentation, Mayor. I'm just here to answer Councilmember Snyder's question.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, staff. I pulled this because I think the public needs to learn about the program. This is a program where the city is taking a proactive position to replace uneven sidewalk. And as some of you know, I broke my leg in January and then had surgery in May to reattach the tendons and ligaments. And I have a 97-year-old mom now that I walk in the neighborhood, and even that tiny lift in a sidewalk makes you fall. So I am so happy that we see this. So I'm bringing it up so that people know, but I did have a couple of questions. Before COVID, the city started a pilot project where staff went through and marked sidewalks, and then we could voluntarily sign up for the program. We replaced 3, maybe 4 slabs at my house, and then we paid for it. But reading the staff report, it sounds like now we're just going to pay for it.
That's correct. We've gone through areas of the city and we've seen trip hazards, and we're trying to be cost effective in getting rid of those trip hazards for the public.
Excellent. One of the reasons that a lot of our residents don't like trees is that they blame the trees for lifting the sidewalk that they then have to pay for. So I think that this is a great solution in that. My other question, my neighbor across the street was the very first person who signed up for that pilot program pre-COVID. And it was mainly because of the, I don't know what you call the slopey part on the driveway. So you got the sidewalk and then the slopey part. And his is so torn up, and he was ready to pay for it if the city was going to do that, and he never got called. So if we have homes that have broken ramp, will that fit in this program, or how could it fit in the program?
It depends on what we're looking at, in terms of the vertical displacement. This is actually cutting the vertical displacement. Broken sidewalk is a different story, because at that point, if it's really broken, it has to be replaced.
Okay.
So we're just being very cost effective with our residents.
So, for example, say my neighbor across the street would love to be part of the program and get his driveway on there and is willing to pay for the driveway. Could he do that?
If the city does have another sidewalk program and we do include concrete replacement, we can reach out to
Oh,
that.
so this is just cutting and kind of leveling as opposed to repouring.
That's correct.
So a few months ago, the city was collecting people to come in and voluntarily submit their sidewalks. Is this program tied into that, or is this program replacing that?
That's the program.
More augmenting it.
Augmenting
Right?
it?
Yeah, so this is a grinder that grinds the sidewalk to eliminate the elevation or the
Okay.
crack in the sidewalk to prevent tripping. So it's
Could-
not sidewalk replacement, but it's just an augmentation to.
Again,
prevent
I think
trip
this
and
is
falls.
fantastic. I actually pushed my mom home from the Art and Wine Festival up the middle of the street because there's that many uneven. I couldn't get the wheelchair. I had to flip it around backwards, and so yay. Could we get a bigger, expanded article about this in the biweekly newsletter? Thank you. Fantastic. I am happy to make a motion for this. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
We need public comment.
Do we have any public comment? I don't have a speaker slip on this item. Anybody online?
There are no speaker slip for this item, as well as hands raised only.
Thank you so much. We're closing public comment on this item. We got a motion, we have a second. Would you please do a roll call?
Councilmember Snyder.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen.
Yes.
Mayor Fung.
Aye.
Consent item number 7 passed by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item 12. Consider adopting a resolution in support of Millbrae Elementary School District Measure J for the November 5th, 2024 general election. Mr. City Manager, do we have short presentation?
There's no presentation, Mayor. We're here to answer questions, and I do know a member of the public would like to address the council.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. I have a speaker slip on this item, Ms. Joy Passamonte Henry, and from the Millbrae School District. Would you please join us at the podium?
Thank you again, Mayor Fung, Vice Mayor Pappen, Councilmember Schneider, City Manager Tom Williams, and the city staff. My name is Joy Passamonte Henry, a resident of Millbrae on Robin Lane, a Mills High School parent, and a parent whose children went to Meadows and Taylor Middle School. I would like to thank the City of Millbrae for their support of the Millbrae School District, which is comprised of 4 elementary schools: Lomita Park, Green Hills, Meadows, Spring Valley, and our 1 middle school, Taylor. As many of you know, the Millbrae School District continues to be one of the lowest funded school districts in our county. Unless something changes at the state and federal levels in regards to public school funding, we are heavily reliant on local funds from bond measures in order to fix and upkeep our aging school facilities. Updating play facilities in one of our schools for our little students costs upwards of $200,000. Even if you don't have a student in any of the schools, you can drive by any one of them and see how dated the facilities are. Since 1990, the Millbrae School District has only passed 2 bond measures. The last one was over a decade ago. In comparison, the Burlingame School District has passed 6 bond measures. We will have a bond measure on the ballot this November 5th, Measure J. We are grateful for the support of the city of Millbrae. Our schools need your support and that of all Millbrae residents. Excellent schools benefit all of us. Our superintendent, Lisa Hickey, and CBO Ralph Crame are working diligently with our school board, families, and principals to update the facilities master plan. But without critical funding from a bond, there is no funding to bring any master plan to fruition. Thank you again for your support and your time.
Okay, thank you, Joy Henry. Go ahead, Councilmember Schneider.
I wasn't going to pull this, but I'm glad that you did. The Daily Journal about a month ago published a report, and Millbrae's elementary school district is the second lowest funded in the county on that. I have a map here that shows the properties in Millbrae. Really, it's just city and school properties that do not pay property tax. And I have been hoping to get the data for all of the other properties that do not pay property tax, which contribute to our situation. That's SFPUC, that's SFO, it's Caltrain, it's BART, and it's PG&E are the main ones there. So I know that everybody complains that we're constantly asking for more money, but we are the second lowest funded on that, largely because, and my theory is, there is more land as a percentage that does not pay property tax in Millbrae than in most other cities. San Bruno's got the National Cemetery, so they may have us beat because it's huge. But I mean, this is a reality of how we fund our cities and our school districts. So I wish you the best of luck. I wish us the best of luck.
Thank you for the comment. Do we, okay, go ahead. Vice Mayor?
Could the staff put up page 3 and 4 here for the viewing audience? The importance of keeping our schools really updated. As you can see from one of these photos, and actually there's a lot more here, as to what is happening. It's a crumbling infrastructure that we need to, got it? 3,
Coming up.
the pictures ones. So it's really vital to actually the health of our children too, that we maintain our schools in such a way that they are not a danger to anyone attending the schools or anyone visiting the schools. And really, this is kind of long overdue here. You will receive flyers, I'm sure, in the mail, but it is a cost of $30 per 100,000 of property assessed value. And just like our library, the return on investment is something that cannot be underestimated here. I know it's difficult for people these days with inflation and everything else, but I do hope that you can see just what a benefit this would be to the community overall, to your property values, and to the children that we are putting our future in. So I would vote that we join the school district and support this measure in any way we can. So if we're, after public comment, I'd like to make the motion.
Okay, all right. Any other further comment before let me just finish. Okay, hold on one second. I just want to make sure that there's any other public comment. I only got one speaker slip. I don't have anybody online. City Clerk?
That is correct, Mayor. There was only one speaker slip and no speakers online.
Okay, closing public comment on this item. Go ahead, City Manager.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, on behalf of Superintendent Lisa Hickey, she sends her regrets as she had another conflict meeting this evening, or she would have been here in support of this as well. So I just wanted to put that on the record. So she sends her regrets in the meeting conflict.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Do you have a comment?
I'm just ready to second.
Okay, go ahead.
Second Gina's motion.
Okay, very well. We have a motion and we have a second. City Clerk, would you please?
Councilmember Snyder.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen.
Yes.
Mayor Fung.
Aye.
Consent item number 12 passed by a vote of 3-0.
Excellent. Moving on, and to public hearing. And I don't think we have any public hearing for the night. We don't have any existing business either. Moving on to new business. Review and approve city's response to the grand jury report, the state of the compost compliance in San Mateo County. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce our city staff for the presentation this evening.
Ms. Papajohn,
Ms. Andrea Papajohn, our Environmental Services Manager.
getting ready to go.
Mayor Fong, Vice Mayor Pappen, Councilmember Schneider, thank you so much for this opportunity to present tonight. I'm Andrea Papajohn, City of Millbrae. So the action requested tonight is for your acceptance of the city's response to the grand jury report on and findings on the state of compost compliance in San Mateo County. Next slide, please. On July 11th, San Mateo County Superior Court sent a letter to City Manager Williams with a report on the state of compost compliance in San Mateo County with the findings and recommendations. Next slide, please. The city is required to respond to 1 through 8 findings and 1 through 7 recommendations. So first I'll go over the findings, and the responses are either to agree, partially disagree, or disagree. Next slide, please. So the first finding is that the high costs and insufficient space are the main reason for low green cart participation rates among multifamily dwellings and businesses. We partially disagree. For the high costs, we'd like to note that in our franchise agreement with South San Francisco Scavenger Company, our hauler, which I'll probably refer to as Scavenger throughout this presentation, we have an annual rate review, and every third year we do a survey. They conduct a survey, and they look at all the rates across several cities in the region, and our rate in Millbrae is discounted 5%. So we pay 95% of the average rate. For the second part of that, for insufficient space, as a main reason for low green card participation, we have had only 2 requests for insufficient space for a waiver, and so we don't find that as significant. For the second finding, green bin contamination among compliant multifamily dwellings and businesses prevents them from diverting more organic waste. We partially disagree. Significant contamination is actually, when there is significant contamination, our hauler will tag the cart and not service it on that day and ask for a correction. If there's minor contamination, the material is actually brought to the processing facility for sorting. So we don't agree that there is significant prevention of diversion of organic waste. Next slide, please. Finding 3, outreach efforts for multifamily dwellings and businesses could improve because a significant portion of these properties remain non-compliant. Well, we partially disagree. Of course, there's always room for improvement, and we're constantly striving to do better. But we have made a very concerted effort on outreach. We have sent out multiple letters in 3 languages. We have made phone calls to non-compliant businesses. We have done site visits, as well as our haulers done site visits. We've posted on our social media, our website, and in our newsletter. Finding number 4, multifamily dwellings and businesses produce a significant amount of county's organic waste. We agree. Next slide, please. Finding number 5, citizens cannot access diversion and participation rates because cities do not make the information available on their government website. We partially disagree. We actually have not had any requests for this information. If we were to receive a request, we would provide that data. Finding number 6, assessing progress on organic waste diversion in Millbrae, as well as other listed cities here, is difficult because they and their haulers do not separate waste tons by property type on their annual or quarterly reports. We partially disagree. Our hauler tracks contamination levels and participation rates. We do lid flipping, and when there is contamination, we actually go to that specific site again and ensure that the contamination is reduced. Next slide, please. Finding number 7. An alternate and reliable method of separating waste tons by property type would be analyzing contamination statistics from route audits and waste evaluations. We agree. Our hauler does conduct lid flips and follows up if bins are contaminated. Finding number 8. Brisbane, South City, and Millbrae cannot properly track their waste trends since their hauler and contractor have contradictory diversion rate formulas and tonnage measurements. We disagree. There are different ways to measure this, and the methodology of calculating diversion rates as reported in the electronic annual report is as required by the state of California and has been for years. We've never heard from the state that there's a problem with that. Next slide, please. So now are the 8 recommendations, and these are the 4 options of responding to the 8 recommendations. Okay, next slide, please. The first finding, the city should host regular in-person green card enrollment summits and identify other new compliance strategies. This will not be implemented. We believe in actually going to our businesses, not making them come to City Hall to a summit. We're trying to make it easier for our businesses to comply, so we will reach out to them and find a time where we can come and do a waste evaluation and determine what size bins are needed. Recommendation number 2, beginning January 1st, Millbrae should investigate their electronic annual report, contractors' diversion rate conversion formulas, and their haulers' waste scales. This has been implemented. Next slide, please. Recommendation 3, Millbrae should begin using a simpler diversion rate calculation or develop a contingency plan if their hauler scales are inaccurate. This has been implemented. We have verified the scales are accurate. Recommendation number 4, cities should publish quarterly or annual waste reports with diversion and participation rates on their websites. This will be implemented. We will post our electric annual report on our website beginning, or no later than November 30th of this year. Next slide, please. Recommendation number 5, cities should separate waste tons and diversion rates into business, residential, and multifamily in reports. This will not be implemented. So non-compliant waste generators are targeted individually. And it can be very unclear when you're trying to target a residential versus a commercial. If it's a multifamily unit, for example, there could be commercial on the ground level and then residential on the upper levels, and we would not expect our hauler to send 2 trucks to service that one building. And also, we wouldn't want to have a burden on the building owner such that they would have to have maybe 2 enclosures and separate the commercial on one side and the residential on the other. Recommendation number 6, cities that cannot separate waste tons and diversion rates by property type should conduct more frequent waste evaluations on highly contaminated routes. We have implemented this. Our hauler does conduct waste reviews and follow-ups. As I mentioned, they do lid flipping, and if there's contamination, they go back. They also leave cart tags. Next slide, please. Recommendation number 7, cities that cannot separate waste tons and diversion rates by property type should analyze problematic routes, past and present contamination trends to track their progress. This will be implemented. We will continue to identify the most contaminated routes and contamination trends to track progress. Yes, there's always room for improvement. We'll continue to look at the trends and hit the routes that are most contaminated and continue to work with those businesses, multifamily, or whatever types of facilities they are. And recommendation number 8, the jurisdiction should develop and implement new ways to make green bins usable in multifamily dwellings and businesses' narrow or small waste enclosures. This has been implemented. Our hauler provides green bins from 32-gallon to 96-gallon and 2 yards to, I just forgot, but they provide all various different sizes depending on the needs of the business. 1 to 4 yards, and they also provide kitchen pails to multifamily dwellings. Next slide, please. So we recommend that the city council please accept the response to the findings and recommendations in the grand jury report. I'm here to answer any questions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for your detailed report, Ms. Papajohn. Anyone from this council?
Okay, first, we've got South City Scavenger here. Thank you. And Andrea, Ms. Papajohn, thank you for the report. Generally, when I read this, it's like the poor people at the grand jury, and I very much appreciate the volunteers of the grand jury, but they often don't get it, so they don't ask the questions the right way. So here's my dilemma. We're simply replying to the grand jury, but I think the grand jury is missing some points. To me, and it would be lovely in my last 3 months on council, to divide our customer type by route, by single family, mixed routes, or commercial routes. And usually that's done by the type of truck that picks it up. So when I read this, I'm a little confused because the data should be fairly easy to get. But my main comments for this one, and then I've got more on Greece for the second grand jury, is the quarterly report. I'm really glad. I've actually been asking for this for 9 years. So I'm glad that we see this. The number that I would really like to see that I think tells people and it sends them that feedback message is the residue rate from recycling or the residue rate from composting. That's going to give you the number of how much garbage is actually getting mixed up in there. So when we do that quarterly report, which I'm really happy to see, can we include residue and can we include it separating out single family to multifamily dwelling and then for mixed use? Remember, I've got 40 plus years of working, especially in the commercial recycling field, and there are ways of doing this. And I believe that the data that we provide helps the property manager or the resident do a better job of shopping on that. I won't go into more details because it's in the weeds, but I think a lot of this is just simply in the quarterly report and the type of collection. Rear loader, front loader, side loader, cart, bin on that.
So you'd like to see?
I'd love to be able to stick my nose into the quarterly report that they've asked for. It was recommendation number 4. And that we get that up on the website. In time, That's how we teach the residents how to do a better job.
We will be posting the electronic annual report on the website, definitely, and it has all the diversion rates.
And sometimes we might have to take it out of the report and make it really easy to see. Other than that, I feel for the grand jury, they just missed a lot of the really good stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
And then I have one request for city staff. Mulch. We have a different system. We have a unique system here where we use anaerobic digestion, we don't use windrow composting, so we don't have as much compost to give back. It has to go through an additional process, but a lot of city property has not been mulched in years. And in heat waves, it dries out the soil, it takes out the space, so it can't absorb water in the rainy season. I would love to see us get more proactive in the market side of SB 1383. Get more mulch down on city properties, lead by example, get some signage up on the importance of mulch and compost.
Thank you for your.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Any further comments from this council? Okay, I don't have any speaker slip on this item, and I don't see a hand raised online either.
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, closing public comment on this item, bring it back to this council. Any?
Move approval.
We've got Vice Mayor moving to approval.
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Ann Schneider. Would you please do a roll call, City Clerk?
Councilmember Snyder.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen.
Yes.
Mayor Fung.
Aye.
Item number 13 passed by a vote of 3-0.
Okay, item 14, review and approve city's response to the grand jury report, restaurant exterior, the neglected space.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce Mr. Andy Mogensen, the Community Development Director, for a staff presentation.
Director Mogensen.
Good evening, honorable mayor, members of the council. This is the other grand jury report that we received in July. Next slide, please. The report examines issues related to the sanitary conditions around restaurant building exteriors and parklets. The grand jury members reached out to San Mateo County and all 20 cities and towns in the county, forwarded a survey and interviewed certain county and city officials and waste handlers on this topic. The report attached to your staff report and your agenda packet this evening cited a significant number of restaurant exterior waste storage areas and areas below parklets had clearly deficient, unsanitary, unsightly, and odorous conditions. The report contains recommendations for a more proactive approach to handling restaurant garbage and parklet sanitation. The grand jury requested the city respond to the findings and recommendation. A draft letter has been prepared by the city to address the grand jury report's findings and recommendations presented in attachment 2. Just to give you an idea on how the enforcement process works here in the city of Millbrae, the Community Development Department's Code Enforcement Division and Public Works Environmental Services Program Division, Environmental Programs Division work cooperatively with San Mateo County Environmental Health and Vector Control on the sanitation and enforcement of restaurant exteriors and parklets. This is supported by South San Francisco Scavenger, who provides sanitation removal services. They notify the city when conditions necessitate additional receptacle capacity. Slide, please. The city has prepared a draft response to the 6 findings and sole recommendation to the city of the grand jury report. The report's sole recommendations are already implemented. And just a high-level overview, the sanitary conditions of parklets and restaurant exteriors are within the city's enforcement jurisdiction. And while enforcement is primarily complaint-driven, support comes in addition from routine inspections, proactive observations, and interagency cooperation that encourage compliance. Next slide. So when it comes to those findings in finding 1, sanitary conditions of the exterior of restaurant facilities fall outside current inspections of the county health department. The varying unsatisfactory conditions in the waste removal areas of these facilities show something is lacking in the regulatory process. Our response, the city of Millbrae partially disagrees with this finding. Our code enforcement division works cooperatively with the county health department if and when unsanitary conditions of restaurant exteriors are noted. We let each other know when we see something. We work together when we do those inspections. This report and the grand jury report contains some exhibits. There's a number of photos that are identified in the city of Millbrae. I want to point out that those photos are all a 1-block stretch of alley between Taylor and Hillcrest, just east of Broadway. So it's just a 1 alley, 1-block stretch of those photos. We were able to identify 4 of the 5 images in Exhibit A. One of those images is known to involve an ongoing joint enforcement effort between our Code Enforcement Division and San Mateo County Environmental Health. Next slide. So in finding 2, the report says sanitary conditions of parklets fall outside of current inspections by the county health department or vector control. We partially disagree with this finding. Again, we work cooperatively and coordinate with those agencies if and when unsanitary conditions of parklets are reported or noted. The city is authorized by ordinance to inspect and enforce parklet conditions, including the remediation or removal of parklets that are found to have been maintained in an unsanitary condition. Parklets are required by ordinance in the city of Millbrae to be kept in a sanitary condition at all times. Next slide, please. Finding 3, the sanitary conditions of exterior areas used for waste storage and disposal fall outside of our current inspections by local jurisdictions. Local jurisdictions are by and large only reactive to an actual complaint. We partially agree with this finding, but as I noted earlier, South San Francisco Scavenger provides sanitation removal services. They notify us when business conditions necessitate additional receptacle capacity, and the enforcement of those conditions of restaurants, it is primarily complaint driven, but we are kept aware when they need to be addressed. Next slide, please. Then finding number 4, most restaurant exterior areas are out of sight of the public, and as a result, complaints are less frequent. We partially disagree with this finding. The city of Millbrae is unique in that most of our restaurants back up to a public alley, which is a very visible public space. The majority of our restaurants are downtown. These downtown restaurants, have limited space for storage and screening of grease and waste receptacles, but they are well within our visibility. I walk by many of these every day on the way to work. Next slide, please. Because finding number 5, because they lack oversight, unacceptable conditions in restaurant trash areas are likely not to be rectified. The city partially disagrees with this finding. We do have oversight jurisdiction over restaurant trash areas. Said, South San Francisco Scavenger monitors these receptacles, and they inform both restaurants and the city when the containers are inadequate, overflowing, or contain improperly stored or sorted materials. Finding number 6, wastewater from the cleaning of trash areas and from rain flow into the storm drain systems. We disagree with this finding. It cannot flow into the storm drain. Many existing restaurants in Millbrae have been instructed to prevent wastewater generated from cleaning their trash areas to flow into the storm drain system. Only rainwater is allowed. I should note there's a memo that came to you this evening noting a typo. The city disagrees. It does not agree with this finding. It disagrees it. And that was the typo. So next slide, please. There was only one recommendation that applied to the city. The R1 through R3 were directed to San Mateo County. Recommendation number 4 was that by June 30th, 2025, inspectors for all jurisdictions with restaurants should be empowered to require owners, operators to add receptacles or increase the frequency of pickups. This recommendation has already been implemented by the city. We've had this in our municipal code for many years now. Municipal Codes Chapter 6.15 establishes a baseline requirement for all businesses to have garbage collection a minimum of twice per week. We are empowered to require restaurant owners to add receptacles and pickup frequency, so this has already been implemented. And so with that, the next slide, please. Our recommendation to City Council is that you review and accept the draft response with that typo corrected. Submit our response to the Honorable Judge Lee. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Director. Anyone from this council?
I'm going to start backwards first. Thank you for the report. When looking at the pictures, South City Scavenger handles recycling, compost, stuff like that, but they don't handle grease. And I didn't expand up the photographs to read the grease contractor. Are we getting franchise fees from that grease contractor, the fats, oils, and grease? They have always operated outside of a typical commercial recycling system, and I think they should be paying franchise fees on that. The other thing, looking at the photos, the problem with grease is depending on how they evacuate the containers, they get really gritty looking. And I'm thinking, if I were on the grand jury, I would have required that the contractor, whether it's South City Scavenger for regular stuff or the grease contractors, the renderers, that they have to take those containers back every year and pressure wash them in an enclosed environment, because that grease is landing up on the ground. And then whatever's in that grease is, when it rains, running off into the storm drain. So it's really not the litter, it's really the grease on that. But again, this is where the grand jury report did not know enough to ask the questions on that. My recommendation to the city is, let's start looking into those contracts and see if we get them to do an annual replacement. You swap out, it's expensive, but the contractors can charge the restaurant. It's a cost of doing business. Swap out the grease container, swap out the garbage. Usually, well, the compost container now is going to have more of the liquidy kind of waste on that. And other than that, to me, all of this says BID. If we can get that business improvement district, we can get garbage enclosures, shared enclosures. You can walk that alley and we can actually maybe make it a public space in some cases. But that's all PID defended. Good job. Much more work for the BID.
So Mayor, if I may, so we do not collect a franchise fee for the grease
We
traps?
what?
We do not.
We do, you know, and it's funny, I'm trying to rack through my head. I think they've gotten away with not doing franchise fees forever, maybe because they fall under the public health department and not under us. But it's something to be looking at because they're making a mess.
Exactly. We do have an enforcement arm. There's one restaurant in particular that code enforcement, along with Public Works, is always working with. So we do have that enforcement tool and enforcement arm.
Yeah. It just dawned on me, why aren't we getting money? And it's because of the next agenda item. It made me think of that. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. Any other comments? Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
So do we cover this in the ordinance we have for the parklets?
Yes.
This is all covered there?
That's correct.
Okay, and do we ever send out reminders to the restaurant owners? Because recently one posted political advertisements, which was clearly prohibited by our ordinance.
Yes, you cannot post political advertisements in the public right of way.
So do we have, as far as enforcement, I'm trying to keep it on this issue here, do we have anything significant to, or are there any consequences?
They have to
those-
renew their license annually, so every year the city has to get that from the restaurant owner, and it is renewed, and we do notify them annually of the rules.
Okay, I think we may want to incorporate some sort of accountability throughout the year, instead of just renewal of licenses. It is kind of at the will of the council because it is public property. So
Right.
we want to ensure that the regulations we imposed are followed, and if they are not, given this or any other aspect of our ordinance, there should be consequences. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
It's probably a 40-year-old or almost that old space allocation law. And it just, when the Councilwoman Pappen mentioned this, when any of our downtown businesses come in for a remodel, are we trying to get them to create adequate space for recycling and compost? So we're catching that in our updates?
That's right. Whenever somebody comes in for a building permit, that is part of our comments.
Great, so
part
we've
of
got
our
that
updates.
space allocation section
That's
on
right.
that.
We want
I
to make
was-
sure they're up to code.
Right. Well, I think you guys did a great job for the Office Depot building. People, I know you can't get excited over this, but everything is inside the building, and it's just super. So thank you.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure that there is no public comment on this item. I don't have a speaker slip. I don't see anybody hand raised online either. City Clerk?
That's correct. There is no public speakers.
Oh, okay, closing public comment. We've got a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a second. Would you please, City Clerk, to accept the report?
All right. Councilmember Snyder.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen. Mayor Fung.
Aye.
Item number 14 passed by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 15, waive the first reading and introduce an ordinance amending section 2.05.030 of the Millbrae Municipal Code, providing for the salary of council member. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quick, I'll provide the briefing here. City council salaries for the city of Millbrae have remained constant at $340 a month since 1999. That's 25 years. On June 29th of last year, 2023, the governor approved and signed SB 329, which amended a section of the government code that allows cities to adjust their compensation for inflation since 1984 for city council salaries. Now, there are limits on that on general law cities. The government code now allows city councils with populations of up to 35,000, of which Millbrae fits within that definition, to enact an ordinance providing each council member with a salary up to $950 per month. Now, I need to note that based on the law, the council compensation cannot be adjusted until one or more members begin a new term. That's under the government code. So therefore, the compensation changes cannot take effect until January 1st, 2025, after the next Millbrae City Council election has been held and members sworn into office as a result of the November 5th, 2024 election. So there are a couple of different scenarios under which the salaries can be adjusted. We're taking the maximum amount that is allowed by the law on that since 1984, that escalation up to the amount. So also SB 329, it does not allow for provision to include for future automatic increase in salary, so adjustments with cost of living or inflation. So therefore, an ordinance would need to be brought back to the council for any future increase. So with that, Mayor, City Council, we recommend that the City Council waive the first reading, introduce an ordinance amending section 2.05.030 of the Millbrae Municipal Code, providing for salaries of city council members.
Thank you so much for the briefing. Any questions from this council? Comments?
Just noting, again, this will not affect members of this current council, not till January, where only one member will be remaining. This is completely public information, always has been, always will be. So whatever salaries or benefits council members receive, that will be, again, to be completely transparent. Some of us never take the benefits, which is even more of a bargain. to whomever's out there. But as we know, going into the election cycle here, it is difficult to get candidates to run for office. Hopefully, this will encourage more people. There is a lot of time spent in preparing for meetings, going to other meetings, and really doing our very best to represent the public. So given that it's been 25 years, and we're probably right now the lowest paid council in the jurisdiction, I know other cities have brought about similar ordinances given the new law. So I would move approval if the council so desires.
I just want to say I completely concur with Councilwoman Pappen. Just an example, for those people, so those elected officials who have childcare or parents or a sick partner, in December 2 years ago, it cost me $400 to have someone, my mom had just been released from the hospital, it cost me $400 to have someone sit with her when we got sworn in 2022 on that. So a little bit of, it is a discouragement to people who do have to get that kind of care at home to be able to come and serve the public they represent. So I'm happy. Did you make a motion, Councilwoman? I am happy to second that.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we have taken public comment on this item. I don't have a speaker slip. I don't have a hand raised online.
That's correct, Mayor. No speaker speaker for this item.
Okay, closing public comment on item number 15. We have a motion on the table and we have a second. Any other further discussions?
This is to waive the first reading and introduce the ordinance.
That is correct.
Councilmember Snyder?
Aye, and thank you, staff.
Vice Mayor Pappen? Mayor Fung?
Aye.
New business, item number 15, passed by a vote of 3-0, excuse me.
Thank you so much. And we're moving on to item 16, public, educational, and government PEG funding, bond refunding, and franchise fees and transportation network company TNC fee. And City Manager, would you please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was a request from a previous council meeting, but I'd like to introduce our Finance Director, Mr. Mike Sung, for the staff presentation.
Director Sung.
Okay. Thank you, City Manager Williams. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Vice Mayor, and Honorable City Council Member. Today we'll be talking about PEG funding, or public educational government funding, bond financing, franchise fees, and transportation network companies. Next slide, please. As City Manager Williams indicated, this was at the request at the May 28, 2024 session. Staff was requested to provide a briefing regarding these four lesser-known fiscal components. Next slide, please. Public educational and government PEG funding. So PEG funding is basically annual revenue that's actually earmarked by law for public broadcasting, educational media, and government access television. Before 2006, cities and counties actually issued cable TV franchises, and the state, through AB 2987, Assembly Bill 2987, had passed the Digital Infrastructure and Video Competition Act, or it's commonly known as DIVCA. And that actually gave the California Public Utility Commission, or CPUC, the ability to issue these franchises. Now, the state still distributes the revenue back to the municipalities. This is approximately 1% of the gross revenues that are assessed on the cable services providers. Currently, we're receiving about $50,000 per year. We have a fairly healthy fund balance at about $174,000. You would normally use these PEG fees for public access television, so that could include changing the acoustics, for example, in council chambers, even for hybrid, because that's public access as well. Next slide, please. Bond financing. So bond financing, and you've probably heard the term of refunding, but just bond financing in general. There's really two ways generally to actually pay for infrastructure improvements. There's the way which we use for our streets, which is pay-as-you-go funding, or you would do debt financing. What debt financing is kind of like a mortgage almost. Bonds basically are these tools that you use to borrow money for improvements that you need to make now that you basically promise to repay back annually over term. It's typically 20 to 30 years. can be, any number of years, actually, usually from 1 to 30, but 20 or 30 are the most common terms. And bonds have coupon rates. These are the interest rates on the debt. These rates can be the same. They can vary as well. And what staff does is we constantly monitor these interest rates to determine if it's advantageous to refinance. So an example of this is back in 2021, we refunded the 2009 COPs, or the Certificates of Participation, as well as the 2009 State Water Board Resources, Control Board Resources loan as well. And so we reduced that from about 6%, which we were paying, to about 1.5%, and that saved about $4.5 million. So we were fortunate with that. For most bonds, you can actually refund if it's callable, because there's callable and non-callable bonds after about 10 years. So if the interest rates are favorable at that time, you can basically refund it or refinance bonds and save additional monies for the residents or for the ratepayers, depending on what the bonds are for. Currently, we have 4 outstanding bonds for the city. That's the 2004 pension obligation bonds, the 2013 general obligation bonds, the 2018 wastewater revenue bonds, and the 2021 wastewater revenue bonds. And they're for various reasons. So like the wastewater revenue bonds, they're basically collected by, from the rates collected from the enterprise funds, and they're usually used for capital projects. And the general obligation bonds, that was for the library. The original was in 2001, and we refunded it in 2013. Currently, interest rates are a bit high right now, so we haven't gone out and refunded that. Otherwise, you would see something directed towards you to consider refunding the 2013 GO bonds as well. So one of the oddities is the pension obligation bonds. That actually can't be refunded. It wasn't callable. That was back in 2004, and that's set to expire in about 10 years from now. Next slide, please.
Mr. Mayor, hey, Mike, real quick though, so for clarity for the public, I think it's important. So if you go back, so as Mike recognized, the 2018 and 2021 wastewater bonds, those are not actually new issuances. Those are refunding that in net present value over the term of the bond because of the lower interest rates we took advantage of, has about a $4.5 million savings to the ratepayers. So even though we're calling them 21 and 2018, the original debt was issued 15 years or earlier.
Correct.
But we refunded them to take advantage of the lower interest rate. So it's not new debt, it's just refunded debt.
Yes, and as City Manager Williams had indicated, I should elaborate a little bit more. You refund previous bonds when interest rates are favorable, so you can actually reduce costs and save monies. You also don't need to actually change the original end dates as well. So for example, the 2021s, when we refunded the 2009 COPs, Series A and Series B, as well as the State Water Resource Board control loan, we set the date as the same end date in 2039 instead of actually changing that to 30 years from 2021. So not only do we save money, we actually kept the dates the same. So that's definitely something that you can do when you refund these bonds. So we take a lot of things into consideration. Just an FYI on that. All right, next slide, please. Franchise fees. So franchise fees are used, basically are charged for local government public rights of ways. Over the last couple of decades, state laws kind of limited the local government's ability to charge franchise fees on something such as cable, because companies will go up and they'll lobby the state. And then you'll notice I had mentioned before that State Assembly Bill AB 2987, the DIFCA, or the Digital Infrastructure Video Competition Act, gave the California Public Utility Commission the ability to issue franchises. So that went from the cities and the counties, and that actually went to the state. They're generally assessed as a percentage based on organizations' gross revenues. It's usually from 1% to 5%, depending on what type of franchise it is. We actually have 3 categories. telecommunications, and that's really the cable TV, DirecTV Group, garbage, and gas and electric utilities, which is PG&E. So we roughly get about $250,000 a year for telecommunications franchise fees. Garbage is about $800,000 a year, and then gas and electric utilities about $330,000 to $340,000 a year. Next slide, please. Transportation network companies. So currently, there's no tax or fee that's imposed on the transportation network companies for the burns that the TNCs have actually had on the municipal infrastructures here in Millbrae. You're looking at like Ubers and Lyfts, basically the rideshare companies. There's significant wear and tear from them going across the roads in Millbrae. Now, there's two other Bay Area cities that imposed tax, and they were both voter approved, but they're actually both charter cities. One is the city and county of San Francisco. The other is Berkeley. I think San Francisco actually went to the state to have a special bill passed for them back in 2018. So in order to actually change that, I believe you'd have to actually be a charter city, and I'd look back to our city attorney to confirm that. And currently we're prohibited by law in assessing business licenses from these TNCs, unless they're actually domiciled here. So if they actually are headquartered here or have a business office here, we can't actually charge business license fees to any of the TNCs.
So just to clarify, so the fact that San Francisco got a legislation to impose this special assessment tax requires them to be a charter city in order to do so?
Not exactly. So San Francisco got a special section in the Public Utilities Code written in that allowed them to seek TNC taxes. The City of Berkeley followed them and did it because they are a charter city. And under charter laws, a charter city can enact taxes if their populace agrees to it. So both of them still had to go through a referendum process and have the voters approve it. But for whatever reason, I'm not sure why San Francisco got a special law. They are a charter city, they could have done it without it, but I can't tell you why politically they went up to Sacramento and got this law written in 2018.
Although that legislation does not require the jurisdiction to be a charter city in order to have that legislation.
It specifically says San Francisco can enact this tax.
And it has nothing to do with being a charter city.
They just got it. I went back and looked at the history of the legislation this afternoon when Mr. Sung emailed me about it, and it doesn't really give a reason why it got introduced. I think probably because, they're San Francisco,
Yeah, because they're special. Go ahead.
Since we're on that topic, the San Francisco Chronicle reported several months ago that the city and county of San Francisco makes upwards of $48 to $49 million in fees from Uber and Lyft from SFO. So that's all attributed to SFO, and almost all of those vehicles are driving over Millbrae roads. They wear and tear on the section between the freeway and Old Bayshore is immense because that's the parking lot that SFO requires them on. I think this would, jumping ahead of the game, I would love to see us investigate into that and to get our fair share.
Okay, we'll come back to that discussion. Well, why don't we let Director Sung finish his presentation and we can discuss that.
Okay. Next slide, please. So our recommendations for City Council to receive this informational report regarding PEG funding, bond financing, franchise fees, and TNCs.
Okay, thank you very much, and that concludes your detailed report. Thank you so much for your time. I would, based on that conversation that we just have, since we also have a law firm, a lobbyist firm in Sacramento working on our behalf, I'd like to put in motion to have a little bit of research done to figure out how we can ensure that we can, through a legislative process, to ensure Millbrae get our fair share, because these rideshare programs does take a lot of our resources to maintain the role, to provide them access to the SFO, to the airport, and we should get our fair share of these resources so that we can protect our city. Okay?
Couple of points, but I
Schneider
agree with
first,
the
and then
mayor.
we'll come back with the
I
vice
would say that one of the rationales is for both Millbrae and San Bruno, heavily impacted by the city and county of San Francisco and SFO operations, that if we needed special legislation, that is our rationale. We pick up all the costs. For our new city attorney, it is not unusual for Uber and Lyft drivers to pull up in any of the neighborhoods and sleep and/or eat in their cars, often leaving litter in the gutter, outside the car while they're waiting for a pickup. We even had a company that started parking over 40 electric vehicles for people to come and rent as Uber and Lyft cars. That was in Marina Vista. So we have these unique situations because of our proximity to SFO, and all of that could be a rationale for special legislation. Could be, I don't know, but I'm just throwing that out there so that you know that these are the problems that we've had. Two dumb questions. Whereas I can talk garbage infinitum, on your slide that showed the pension funding, it's still at 6.6%, and I thought I heard you say we can't change that? We can't go to a cheaper interest rate? Why?
It's non-callable. The pension obligation bonds, when they were issued in 2004. The reason why people would look at it, a non-callable versus a callable bond, is the non-callable bonds generally are a little bit lower in interest when they're actually issued. So for some reason, it was determined that they wanted to use a non-callable bond in 2004. If it's callable, it's generally slightly higher, but you do have the option after 10 years to actually refund the bond.
Okay, a lesson for future city councils, I guess, on that. And then my other question on franchise fees, my big word was Amazon. And I believe that the Amazons of the world that are now running their own post offices are also exempt. But I will tell you, the Amazon truck, multiple times a day, pull up in front of my house or the house next door and unload and load packages between Amazon trucks on there. And then they hit all of our street trees on that. I would love to see, and again, this might be special legislation, Amazon is a huge company, and why are they not paying us franchise fees for driving on our roads? So I'd just love to see that, and we should be asking our lobbyists, and we should be asking our folks in Sacramento that we are covering the cost for Amazon to get richer, and any other delivery service out there. And I'm sure they're protected somehow, but I think we need to fight that.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, in addition to what we're looking into here, there are still people that are using our streets for people to drop off their cars at the airport and then renting them out. That is still happening, from what I understand. So I don't know what type of ordinance we have, but I've been informed there's a portion of Laurel where that is happening. In addition to that, I don't know if we've ever looked in, but the cannabis delivery system into our city. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a purchase is being made and delivered to a home. So again, just because revenues are scarce, if we are going to proceed with any lobbying efforts here, and I will say that we may need sufficient legislation to protect us from a transportation bond that may be forced upon us. More details to come, but it looks like MTC and BART are assembling, giving misinformation about what San Mateo County contributes to BART, and that was just revealed today. We will be forcefully opposing such efforts, and particularly since they are basing it on misinformation, which is not at all appropriate. So that is just my note. We've been here a long evening already. I don't want to add any more, but if we're going to our lobbyists, I wanted to mention.
Okay, yeah, we'll come back to that discussion on the BART funding from San Mateo County. But just to the point that we were making earlier, do you have some follow-up?
Yeah,
City
Mr. Mayor, I was going to
Attorney?
recommend, in addition to your recommendation of having staff check with a lobbyist, during my legal research this afternoon, I would recommend you direct staff to also check in with the League of Cities, because it strikes me as interesting that Berkeley passed their law in 2021, and no other charter city has followed since then. So there may be insights from the League of Cities as to why other charter cities have not followed suit.
Okay, all right. Well, so we'll have Ms. Rubalcava look into those two issues and finding ways to, through legislative process, ensuring Millbrae is adequately protected and getting our fair share of resources that is due to us. So is that a consensus around this council? What do you want to say? Go ahead.
City manager, the contact of Cal Cities is Damon Conklin. He's the lobbyist for transportation-related issues on that, and I can get you his email because I talk to him frequently. I do think, and I know it's not on the agenda, but if becoming a charter city instead of general law is going to protect us given the unique situation with transportation agencies, could I ask the city to come back, staff to come back to us with what I think you mentioned, come back, bring it back as an agenda item so we know how the time frame and the cost. Because it's linked to our ability to get funding from these various funding sources.
So if I may, Mr. Mayor, it sounds like, and what I would prefer is two motions. One is a formal motion for the record to direct staff to reach out to our lobbyists and pursue the feasibility of perhaps state legislation. We're contiguous to an airport. We're less than 35,000. You mentioned the wear and tear, litter pickup. I mean, litter pickup. It's incredible how much litter we pick up from the Uber and Lyft drivers in the city.
Yeah.
So I think all those are great points. Be happy to pursue it.
We definitely will have that. The second part?
The second part then would be, as I understand it, to bring that funding back. So there was a discussion about BART funding and MTC and the impacts of San Mateo County.
That's a separate discussion.
Okay.
Yep. So.
And the charter city.
And the charter city, correct.
I'm not sure the charter city thing is at the moment required.
If not, I'll make a formal request to you, the mayor, but with the three of us, we can't make a formal request to each other. So I'm making a formal request.
So your request is to look into whether or not we should turn into a charter city?
Time frame and cost of what it would take and what it would do. It may or may not help us with franchise fees and other fees. Certain cities can put on different fees because they have different powers. So it's a subset. But I agree with you, Gina. That's why I bring it back.
So let's go through the first motion and have our lobbyists look into these legislative options and see if even charter city is a requirement. If it is, we can look into it. If not, then that's a separate discussion item. That make sense, everybody? Yep. Okay, all right. That's the motion. We got a second. Any other public comments? None? Seeing none? City Clerk, would you please?
Councilmember Snyder?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen? Yes. Mayor Fung?
Aye.
Item number 16 passed by a vote of 3-0.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Item 17, destination of voting delegate.
No. City manager had another motion that we had to make.
Well, just based on the discussion, I didn't know if there was another motion on this item to bring back information and place it on the agenda. So two things. One was perhaps an update on what Councilmember Pappen was communicating on the status of funding in San Mateo County and how much the county actually provides to BART.
The Vice Mayor is, so what she's referring to is a proposal of ballot measure to consolidate. Yeah, we don't have enough information yet on that. But I think we can do a council comment on that a little later. So, but it's not something that we need to act on immediately. Okay. All right, any other, I think we're done on 16. 17, designation of voting delegate up to 2 alternate. I mean, there's only 3 of us. For the 2024 League of California Cities Annual Conference and Expo. And I think we can also, in conjunction with number 18 on that topic as well, providing guidance and recommendation for the resolution being considered at the 2024 League of California Cities Annual Conference. We can have these 2 things to be done at the same time, I imagine. City Manager?
Yeah, sure, Mr. Mayor. Real quick, I mean, there's a presentation from our city clerk, but to cut to the chase, I believe on item 17, the two alternates, I believe the mayor is the only person that will be attending this year's League of Cities, so.
Is it really? You have
I
our
believe
honor.
Councilmember
Yeah,
Snyder
there you
was, but she has a conflict and.
Move approval of the mayor doing
Second,
both.
second.
This item, the last two items combined.
Sound like I'm being
Do we need a vote?
voluntold.
Roll call.
Sorry, public comment real quick.
Mr. Mayor, there is a provision also, since you will be the only one there.
Yeah.
That, and the city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong here, that you can't designate the city manager as an alternate to you in case something does happen, if you get tied up or.
In case I got tied up, I
So
would
there's
love to
that.
have the city manager, I would love to back up the city manager.
I will amend my motion
Okay.
to include the city manager as an alternate.
Perfect.
I accept the amendment.
Okay, sounds good.
Councilmember Snyder.
Aye.
Public comment, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No public comment? I don't see a hand raised, no slips.
That's correct, Mayor. No hand
Closing
raised.
public comment?
Okay. Sorry, Councilmember Snyder.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen.
Yes.
Mayor Fung.
Aye.
Item number 17, the City Council designated Mayor Fung as the voting delegate and City Manager Tom William as the alternate for the 2024 League of California City Annual Conference by the vote of 3-0.
Okay, number
I
8.
meant to include the next motion, the next item as well.
Would that need to be a discussion on item 18? Because we need to set direction. So provide guidance and recommendations for the resolution being considered at the 2024 League of California City Annual Conference.
So Mayor,
Mr. City Manager.
our city clerk, Ms. Elaine Tran, has a quick presentation for you.
Excellent.
Good evening, City Council. At the upcoming Cal Cities Annual Conference, the member cities will be considering a resolution that guides cities and the league to improve quality, responsiveness, and vitality of local government. This year, there's only one resolution for consideration, proposed by the city of Glendora. The resolution called upon the governor of the state of California and the elected members of the California legislature, including all members of the Senate and Assembly, to enact laws that ensure equal application of rules and regulation to all governmental officials. What applies to one applies to all, whether at a local or a state level. The resolution highlighted examples. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. The resolution highlighted examples of inequalities where local official must adhere to while state officials are exempt. Some of the examples include the Brown Act and certain California Environmental Quality Act exemptions, as well as amendment to the Political Reform Act and campaign finance that is specific to local candidates. The staff recommends City Council vote in support of the proposed resolution. Next slide, please. And so it requires the council discuss this item and then provide direction for the voting delegate and alternate to vote for the city. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
That's the only item.
This is the only item. However, if there's any resolution, it'll be proposed at the floor.
That's the only item.
I move that we give the mayor permission to exercise his judgment. Thank you.
Okay.
At the Council of Cities with this and any other motion that comes up. Thank you.
I support that.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. No public comments? Any?
No,
Speaker slip? No hand raised? Okay.
All right. Councilmember Snyder.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen. Mayor Fung.
Aye.
All right. Item number 18, the City Council provided the voting delegate, Mayor Fung, to exercise his best judgment for the proposed resolution at the Cal Cities Annual Conference by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you so much. Council comment. Who would like to go first? Vice Mayor?
Okay, try to make this quick. Yes, so as was duly noted here, there are still discussions going on with MTC regarding a transportation measure. Various proposals have been proposed. One is a regional, all 9 Bay Area counties. The one that they seem to be pursuing is one that really will not benefit San Mateo County at all, and is basically a bailout for BART and Muni, and it would cost San Mateo residents would be paying for at least 8 years before anything would return to San Mateo County. As you can imagine, that does not benefit us in any way, shape, or form. I understand Bart has a meeting on tomorrow, I think, tomorrow in the morning or Thursday in the morning, in which they are trying to propose to their board that, oh, San Mateo County is not contributing enough. They are misstating the law and the facts. They are only using Measure A funds when in fact they have been posting a surcharge on every ticket sold in San Mateo County to the tune of, I don't know, what, over $1.40-something cents.
50-some cents.
We'll round up, $1.50, which they are basically hiding and not sharing. Samtrans has asked them to provide that information. They have been less than forthright, so it looks like a public records request will be happening. The thing is, this is moving very, very quickly. I am the representative for all 20 cities, and Supervisor Canepa represents the Board of Supervisors. Our preliminary discussions is this is not acceptable. We understand transportation is lacking funding these days, but accountability seems to be lacking more so. And I have asked that they need to show, all transportation operators, some sort of sustainability plan moving forward. We understand transportation is vital and important to many people who do not have cars, need to get around, and also impacts our air quality in so many other areas here. But this does not appear to be a solution for Caltrains, BART, Samtrans, and again, BART only provides services to a portion of San Mateo County. So any tax affecting the entire county probably will not be welcomed in any way, shape, or form. We will try to work with CCAG, the TA, and other local agencies to find a solution that is reasonable and will show some real results as far as public transportation goes. This happened just this afternoon. I guess some people, including myself and several others, will be calling into the BART board to point out their lack of accurate information, which again, should be concerned about the facts as far as San Mateo County. And threats are also being given by, I'm not quite sure, but they're trying to say that they would just, anybody, Daly City to SFO, and cut out all the other stations in the middle. That's not probably legal in any way, shape, or form. There are existing agreements which would not allow that. So to be continued, again, we appreciate the operations. I guess we're not appreciating the management or the individuals trying to, seems, take advantage of our residents and funding from this county. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Ann Schneider.
Okay. Quick update on Bosqua to staff. They have been interviewing executive director replacements for Nicole. We have a board meeting next week on that, still closed door on that. I will be doing a tour on Friday, September 20th from 10 o'clock to noon for the staff of One Shoreline and the consulting company that's supposed to be reaching out to the people of Millbrae and Burlingame about their sea level rise plan. Everyone is well, city manager, if we can do staff. I can do this out of my back of my head now, but it'll be basically meeting at the top of the BART station because that gives us such a great overview of our entire east side. Had a meeting with Dr. Shruti Dadpudkar, who is our new executive director of San Mateo County Emergency Services. And we've been planning on this for a while. Dr. Dadpudkar's goal is to work city by city and to identify city-specific needs as opposed to the way the county's been doing it, at least in my 8.5 years on that. So for Millbrae, what we've talked about is she and her staff will be doing with Bill O'Reilly, a needs assessment for Millbrae across all disaster platforms. And out of that will come a heat map of our areas most at risk. And then, because I've been asking for this and we've never done it, within the next 6 to 8 months, we will have our first zone haven drill. And the likely spot that I've suggested is the circle around Ora Vista. For the people of Millbrae, Ora Vista is this lovely street in Millbrae. It's one way. It's got a gully behind it full of trees and a creek that have never been cleared out, so a fire risk. And then it has a median strip across it full of vegetation that sometimes gets done by the houses. But the idea is if we had to evacuate this area at the same time that SFO is evacuating its 45,000 employees plus guests, how would we handle that on Millbrae Avenue? The other thing that came out is the state made the county move to a new emergency alert platform. The emergency alert platform has many problems, but the state made us do it. But, city manager, for a measly $200,000, the county could purchase its own platform that is much better. But Dr. Datbakar wants to wait until she gets these assessments done. But they do have something, and you're probably familiar with this, I was not, the all-hazard evacuation plan, and that software, and that has a way to alert every cell phone user within half a mile of the incident in there. So if we did have a fire, even though the county system, the SMC alert has, I'm guessing, less than 10% of Millbrae residents signed up for it, they have this way to reach out to all the residents within the affected area. So she said, and at least we've got that, we can use that, and they have been using it in some of the grass fires that have been happening on there. Moving on to community enhancement, the compost workshop the city manager mentioned, they have been working on signage for both the new the pollinator garden and the new garden in front, the drought-tolerant garden, and they're working, and they should be getting the Adopt-A-Spot for the first 2 locations of Adopt-A-Spot, the Hemlock Garden, the Hemlock Pocket Park is what I call it. I'd love it for it to have a name, and then for the 4 bioswales on the corner of Taylor and Ashton and Almanar on that. So it'll have Adopt-A-Spot signage. The discussion was how high should the sign see so that not just walkers will see it, but the drivers will see it as they take their kids to Taylor. We can adopt spots. And from there, then the request to our PIO to do articles about the other Adopt-A-Spots available around the city. CCAG specific plan, did I say it the right way? CCAG strategic plan. Mayor, I don't know if they've talked to you about this. I think I might have missed the deadline of September 6th, but it might be September 13th. The only thing I know about this is that staff came to our last CCAG bike pedestrian meeting and said they'd like to consolidate the various committees because they take up so much staff time. So here is the plan. I haven't read it yet. I will still try to get comments in, but the deadline is either last Friday or this coming Friday. And Cultural Arts will be having a special meeting on September 30th. Their meeting was yesterday. I was at the Lions golf tournament all day, but I believe that this has to do with the Dias de los Muertos event, which is set for actually on the right date, and I don't have that, but if we can get that announced, it's actually not going to be like just before Halloween. I think it's on November 1st on that. So with that, and then congratulations to the Lions for an incredible golf tournament yesterday. Wouldn't you know it, today, no wind and fog. Yesterday, wind, but a beautiful day. And an encouragement for staff, especially for our future publications. The views from up there are spectacular. It was a smoggy day yesterday, so the pictures aren't as good as after a rain. But if we could get some photographers up there, the down shots over Millbrae includes part of Burlingame, but they're really incredible to show how beautiful we can look here in Millbrae. But congratulations to the Lions, to all the volunteers, and to all of the sponsors. Thank you.
Thank you for all the updates. Just want to report out the SMC Transportation Authority. We had a meeting this past week, and the Regional Transit Connection Plan has a first public review draft, and they will be calling for project early next year. And for projects that would enhance station safety, connectivities. And these fundings are coming from Measure W, the half-cent sales tax, where 10% of those Measure W revenue will go into this RTC program, estimated to between $9 to $12 million annually. And we have roughly, by the fiscal year 2025 budget, roughly about $63 million available to be programmed for that purpose. Again, funding could be used for safety, access improvement, station access, and improving riders' experience. So for those public transit agencies who is qualified as a project sponsor, we get our programs ready. And at the beginning of next year, we'll be calling for projects. And also, there's opportunity to develop a first and last mile system that creates access for all ages and abilities to connect to regional transit station and support connectivities with micro-mobility. So, there's opportunity for shuttle programs and some of the other things that we also wanted to desire for a long time. There's been a discussions on the Broadway separation in Burlingame, which is a priority for this county. The original budget was about $316 million, but lately the Caltrain has revised their cost estimate to be exceeding $600 million. So, Burlingame Council and the TA are working collaboratively right now to examine options and possibly redesign to hopefully bring this project cost down so that we can get this going. More to come on that. The Caltrain will also have their, between September 21st and 22nd, between 2 to 6 p.m., having their electric train launch and celebration, especially in San Mateo. There will be one on September 22nd, between 2 to 6 p.m. I believe Millbrae also have a pop-up, and more to come on those announcements as to how people can join that weekend and with a free ride with our new electric train. They're wonderful, they're quiet, and they are very smooth. So everybody would like to invite everybody to join to the celebration. This is a long time coming for the entire Bay Area to, for this very collaborative effort to retire our diesel train. State of the City on September 19th at 5 p.m., Broadway and Hillcrest. We're gonna have Mr. Softy handing out ice cream, and then we also want to thank Millbrae Cultural Committee for sponsoring up to 200 free boba tea for participants joining that evening. So join us with this wonderful, safe fall evening in the streets of Millbrae downtown. Everybody's welcome, and everybody would like to see everyone here on Broadway and Hillcrest on September 19th at 5 p.m. So that's it for my update. Thank you so very much. And if that's all, I'd like to adjourn this meeting tonight at 9:28 p.m. Thanks, everybody.